Yeah, let's cross over now. And my colleague Daniel Dadze is having a conversation this morning. It borders on the Super League. He is there with Gary Al Smith and George Ado Jr. Let's cross over and find out what exactly they have to share.
Or you see some of your old stars playing, that's the concept.
So till date, right? Despite the lure of European football and everything, when they say there's a Monday Star special happening at the Kokonwemle Park, people will come. Because they know that an ex-Black Star player will come, a player you've not seen play in a long time will come. That is the idea.
Okay, I want to ask Constantine a question on this, because Constantine, this was back in '72. We knew there was a demand back then. Then we saw the UEFA Champions League with its explosion of European soccer. Why did that not cure the problem?
I guess, I mean, the Champions League was created to solve the problem, and I think in a way it did, because there was a new tournament, a format with not only the national champions but also the second and third team in England and in Spain, were also big powerhouses, you know, being Barcelona, Real Madrid, and so on. They could all play at the same time in the Champions League, and for a long time most clubs were satisfied. But there was there were investors coming in during the 2000s and 2010s, new investors from the US, from Abu Dhabi and Qatar, and some of them are not satisfied anymore with the revenue share they get. Right now, it's they get less than 50% of the revenue of the Champions League, and first they proposed a model where they get at least 50%, and with the Super League they wanted to get, I don't know, 75% or so. So it's just crazy. About getting a bigger piece of it all, and especially with owners from the United States, they don't see it as a vanity project, owning a club. They see it as an enterprise where they can make a profit in the end. And making a profit in football can be hard sometimes. So you have to have a lot of money coming into your pocket, and that's why they wanted to split from the UEFA, because the UEFA still wants to have at least 50% control and 50% of the revenue. That just won't budge.
Okay, interesting way of captioning is it's really about money, George.
Yeah, it's about money.
Yeah.
It's and like Gary explained, it is basically about money, and this is how the big clubs feel. They feel that they have a lot of clout. Yes, they do have clout. They command a lot of the audience, and therefore they feel that should match how much they are receiving. So there's that feeling everywhere in the world. I was just going to try and localize this a bit and give an idea that even Kumasi Asante Kotoko Accra Hearts attempted something called Super 2 when they were not happy with the Galka preseason tournament. We had this preseason tournament and they attempted Super 2. So because the big clubs control a lot and have a lot of audiences and have so much, there's always a feeling that we can get more, and especially at this time, because of COVID and then the debts they are in.
There's already there's
a financial strain there. So they felt like they want to go around it. Gary makes the brilliant points about what happened in 72.
But it's not just
you see that the upscale, but you see that there was like an upscale, and what they tried to do was work on the existing structure. Why this one is radical is that knock off the existing structure and move on, and let's make our money and let's enjoy. And that's why it became such a big issue.
Amazing. Gary, so take us through the years. I heard Constantine mention the 2000s and 2010s. What do we pick from there?
Before I do that, let's look at the next paragraph of the same document. Okay, if we could go back to the previous slide. Yes. Now, the next paragraph says, the success of the European Cup led to other competitions, as well as stimulating the Intercities First Cup, right? Which was no.
Let's go to the next one.
Which was streamlined into one season after splattering uneasily over 2 seasons. Among the new competitions which were started were the European Cup Winners' Cup, which is the precursor to the Champions League. Which included Wolves and Rangers in its first season of 1960-61, the Alpine Cup between the 4 Italian and the 4 Swiss clubs, because they are around the Alpine region, and the Friendship Cup among 4 English, 4 Scottish, and 8 French clubs. So the idea has always been there that we should find a common ground around which we should play something and make money from the fans from. Which takes us to the next slide.
Okay, so let's look at what's coming next.
With this idea from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, people have always thought, what's the easiest or newest way that we can come together, show our might, and get money from people to sponsor the ever-growing expenses that we have. Arsene Wenger, the Arsenal coach, is somebody who is always known to be visionary and forward-thinking. This is him Guess what? In 2009.
You see the caption that the article is more than 11 years old.
Yeah.
This is from The Guardian. He says the European Super League will be here in 10 years. He said this in 2009.
If it was Ghanaian, people would be presenting with seed that he's a prophet.
Osofo Chaboso.
Yeah.
Look, Gary, we have some quotes from this particular article. Let's look at that quickly, and then I bring in the rest of the guys. Okay.
So this is what he said. He said, I see more a European league developing over time rather than one team going out of the country, which is to say that the champion of England versus the champion of Spain and all that. So this is
there's a bit more from what
he said as well.
Saying.
It's also interesting that he mentions that the national leagues will survive, but maybe in 10 years you will have a European league. Now listen to what he said again. He said the national leagues will survive. That means the English Premier League, the whatnot. But you will have a European league, which means that a league of 36, where all of them are from different countries, but they will do an all play all.
Oh, okay.
That is what he prophesied.
Yeah.
Now, so
there's a bit of what he said right after this. You love it, trust me.
Yeah.
It comes in here. It says that
I'm not sure 100% that I'm right, but I feel inside our game there are some voices behind the scenes coming up to do something about that, especially if the rules become too restrictive for these clubs. And that is exactly what Constantine alluded to.
That in the 2000s and in the 2010s, there were some people behind the scenes.
Who are the people behind the scenes? He mentioned them, the Americans, who now own more and more clubs in Europe. The Qataris, who own some of the big clubs in Europe. The Abu Dhabi cartel, who own the Man Cities and others. The Man City group, as they call them. And that is why, from the 2009 prophecy, we had an attempt in 2014, 2016, all didn't work, and then in 2021 they tried and almost Daniel work.
Why do you think it didn't work, George?
Well, it's interesting.
The previous attempts.
Yes, and just to touch what Gary was saying, is that when you check the clubs who wanted to do this and you look at their ownership, you understand that by large they are the Americans and the Qataris, just as you made the point. That's why they're looking for money. I feel that it didn't succeed for maybe two reasons. One, the timing itself wasn't too good. Number two, the fans did not accept it. And I think number three, the owners were lost. There was a big gap between what they thought was ideal and what was actually on the ground.
Exactly, that's a good one.
These are the three. For me, these are the three reasons why.
Even in the past.
I think.
But they came very close this time.
Yeah, they came close. Yes, I think that even with this, if they had looked at these three reasons and moved on to do a few things, maybe they would have had a chance. And maybe a fourth reason is the fact that this whole football pyramid takes a lot, especially when FIFA and UEFA and most of the federations, when they have challenges like that, will go through the political lines to try and solve this. So there's a little battle between English Premier League clubs and UEFA, and before you know it, you have politicians starting to speak, House of Commons starting to speak, Boris Johnson starting to speak, and it gives you an indication of the scale of the battle. I'm not sure they were ready for all of this.
They weren't ready, basically.
They weren't ready for all of this.
Okay, so let's begin to learn a bit more about what the Super League was then. Who was supposed to be in it? What was it?
So now we've done a bit of history about how some people in the 70s wanted to. So this time, the iteration that they wanted the Super League to be was like this. They wanted 12 founding clubs. They chose for 12 founding clubs. Arsenal, Chelsea, Man United, Man City, Liverpool, Spurs, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Barcelona, Inter, AC Milan, Juventus. So these were the 12 founding clubs, all right? Now, these were 12 of 20 they wanted to play.
Okay.
So who were the other 8? Out of the 8, 3 clubs were to be determined. So they said these were the 12 that were sorted. They were going to invite, now we know, PSG, Bayern. And Dortmund. Okay. So 1 from France and then 2 from Germany.
Basically the biggest ones there. Okay.
We will come to why they chose them very shortly. So that makes 15, right? So the other 5 would have been chosen every year based on a coefficient system, you know, And
so basically, 5 will qualify.
5 will qualify. So
okay, you know
so
what?
5 something.
Let me take these questions to Constantine, and I know it's controversial for the fans of those clubs, but I'm looking at the clubs. Tottenham Hotspur has no place in there. It has no place in there. Even arguably with Arsenal, with their most recent respect to you, Gary, I know you're a fan.
What are we doing there?
Exactly, with their most recent performance, how did they find their place in there, Constantine? Why do you think so?
Yeah, so especially with Arsenal, it's quite easy to explain. Stan Kroenke, American billionaire, is the owner of Arsenal, and he's well connected to other American billionaires, entrepreneurs who are in sports, because Kroenke also owns NFL teams, NHL teams, and so on. So he's well connected there, and he's an established sports entrepreneur in a way, and that's why he was in it. Arsenal is still a brand, also, and we should acknowledge at least because of the 2000s when they were, when the Gunners were really strong in the Premier League and winning the Premier League a lot of times. And Kroenke is just one of the more powerful owners in European football, and that's why I said they are the Americans basically pushed for that with Florentino Perez from Real Madrid, but it was really the Americans, the Glazer family, Kroenke, and also the AC Milan owners, for instance. AC Milan hasn't been that great in a couple of years, but they were still in it because they are also owned by the Americans.
Okay. How about Tottenham, Gary?
So Tottenham are owned by a group, and we have a slide about the ownership, right?
Yes. We will get there.
We will get there in a second. But you're asking why they were there. So beside the owners, I was saying yesterday in our editorial meeting that for most projects around the world, you need London in there.
The city itself.
For most financial projects, because if you read a bit about the finances of the world and all that, that square mile, Canary Wharf in London, for many years, for centuries, it was the richest square mile in the world. Historically, the financial center of the world was London. I mean, before the Americans came after World War II, if you look at the establishment of the Bretton Woods Institution, which is the precursor to what we now call the IMF and the World Bank and so on, it was hugely Anglo-centric. And you can't do without the London factor because of where they are and also because of the historic tradition of the two clubs. Remember, like he said, Arsenal may be a bad team on the pitch, but guess what? Off the pitch, their books, Arsenal is one of the most well-run clubs in the world. They are just in layman's terms, in Ghana man's terms, a chisel club. That's all. They have money. They don't like to spend. But
we are not talking about tools. That
this is a very Ghanaian term. Yeah. So, like he also said, Stan Kroenke, the owner of Arsenal, is the owner of one of the NFL franchises, and he is known to manage that team as miserly as he manages Arsenal. They have a lot of money, and they are always there and thereabouts. So that is why.
So for Tottenham as well, it's also because of the London influence.
Yes.
Okay. So we've talked a bit about the who. Let's quickly run through the why and then the format. Format of
So the question about why they decided to do this now is important, because we've established from Constantine that entrepreneurs go to entrepreneur. I mean, they put money in, they want money out. They get about 50% of profit. They thought it's too small. They can get about 75% profit. So
how about George takes us through this?
Yeah, sure.
Oh no, and to just the point. So, one, more money for Super League teams as JP Morgan is bankrolling with 4 billion, and this is really, really huge. I'm sure when we go into how much the clubs we're going to get from just participating in a competition versus how much they will get from winning another competition. It's the UEFA Champions League versus the Europa Super League. Super League, you are getting so much money for just participating. Now, some clubs are financially struggling. Yes, he's put some, but most. Because they are in debt. Yes, because the clubs are in debt. They have a lot of money, a lot of debt, and so much to try and come up with, especially with the COVID situation. I thought the COVID situation was going to prevent clubs from buying, but they had to buy because of the pressure that had come on a lot of them. So they went in to buy. I'm sure later we'll talk about transfer deals and how all of that is still firing the clubs and making it difficult for them to go through. Super League say existing Champions League has lost its magic and financial power. Financial power because they feel that they are big enough to attract something and it's not coming to them. They think that UEFA has monopoly over this competition and it's just dealing with anyone anyhow. now. The big guys felt that it's time to push them around because we can make some more money out of this. So these are the reasons, why the Super League, came around. After the, has lost its magic. That one is Florentino Perez. Who can explain that?
You know what? I wanted us to spend some time talking about when the games will play and the format and all of that, but
we can skip it.
You can skip it at the number, so as we say, as we say in Ghana. Yeah. So, what I want to know is that comparison that you were talking about, the Champions League and maybe the Premiership versus the Super League. How does that pan out?
Well, to piggyback off these reasons and what George said, more importantly, the 12 clubs decided that, look, George said something that's really important. UEFA as the brokering agency for the Champions League, because the Champions League is for them. Yeah. So when they go to advertisers, they get 100 CDs and they pocket 75 CDs and share the 15 CDs among the other clubs. And the other clubs have decided that, look, if we come together, we can get 100 CDs and give, or we can get 1,000 CDs and give all of us 100 with change to spare, which takes us to this presentation. Look at this. This slide by the time we finish with this slide, it may make you a bit empathetic towards the Super League. Because when they win the Champions League, like Bayern Munich won last year, or even as we are going to the Champions League final on the 29th of May, the winner is going to get 82.4 million euros. The Premier League winner gets 150 million euros. That's a total. The whole Champions League and Premier League is 232.4 million euros.
So this is where I'll be biased and say that's what my Liverpool was.
That is what your Liverpool got last season.
Yeah.
For the Super League, just to take part, come and play, Bobby. They give you 350 million.
And there's no relegation promotion.
There's no relegation.
You are playing for the next 23 years.
For these 15 clubs,
this is money
every year.
For 23 years at least.
So, Daniel,
crazy.
If you are the owner of one of these clubs, why won't you say, let's go? So this is for participation. And if God smiles on you, luck smiles on you, and you win, look at the amount you get.
So that's almost $1 billion, close to €1 billion in 1 year.
Yeah.
That's coming to you. You can buy as many Neymars and as many Mbappes as you want.
Because currently Neymar costs 200 million.
200 million.
Let's see.
Yeah. So Neymar, you need to win the Champions League and Premier League to get around buying Neymar.
Wow, look.
and your debt is hovering in that region there. Slightly below that from having. So then you come to Super League. So when you possibly in the Super League, you can possibly buy Neymar. You have change. Attempt to win in it. The next season is assured. The next season is assured. So if you're thinking about the financial reason, you can't blame these clubs. if football was just straightforward and it's about financial reason, if it was me, I would look at it and say, please, bring it on, let's go.
Constantine, do you agree that you can't blame them? I'll give you a context to this question. When Asamoah Gyan was moving from Sunderland to Al Ain, he was very, very criticized that he wasn't making a good career move. But a lot of Ghanaians actually identified with him and said, look, his grandmother is here in Ghana, she needs money. Go and take the money and bring it. But Constantine, do you agree with the idea that, look, they were justified to an extent?
In a way, yes. I mean, what the owners want, what the clubs want, the top clubs, is steady revenue. On that's the first point, and meaning steady revenue. If you have a bad season like Arsenal or a couple of bad seasons, you are not in the Champions League at all. So you are far away from any kind of the prize money that was mentioned. But if you're in the Super League, there's no relegation. You will never be out of the Super League. Even if you are finishing last for 5 seasons in a row, there is still the participation money, which is 350 million, and that's a lot of money just to be a participant and getting beaten all the time by the Real Madrids and Barcelonas. So they want safety, they want steady income all the time. There's, being calculations have to be secured. And the second thing is, of course, they want to have more money. They want to get a profit, and they thought the Super League might be the way to do that. But the one thing I was never really sure about when the proposal came is JP Morgan funded the entire project with $3.25 billion. So and they thought they can get the money back through television revenue, television rights fees. But if there are not a lot of fans behind the project and on watching the thing, then you don't get the television rights fees, because the television companies want viewers. And so, I mean, it was still a speculation to really get that money out of the entire project, because you need the fans, you need the television viewers. Otherwise, it's just not working.
Gary, take us through some of the numbers that these leagues hold and some of these clubs hold, because he's talking about fans, he's talking about viewers. Someone must have crunched these down, right?
Exactly.
Where's the money coming from?
And I'm loving how seamlessly the conversation is going so far, because it seems like one thing is leading to the other. So again, let me piggyback on what he said. JP Morgan puts $4 billion in this project because they believe that they could get the money some way, somehow. Yeah. And this is because they crunched the numbers, looked not just at the historical nature of these clubs, their financial nature as well, but also their earning potential on television, on radio, and on digital media. So in our next slide, we will look at what the ownership is like from these teams, and then look at how big they are on social media. Now, JP Morgan guarantee, because just like a loan, let's do the basic. If somebody is giving you a loan, they look at your collateral. The collateral of these 12 clubs was enough to convince JP Morgan that they are worth supporting. Why do they say so? And I want you to take note of the Americans in this slide, because they were the biggest influence and the biggest reason why JP Morgan decided to do this. So Liverpool are owned by FSG, or the Fenway Sports Group, which is headlined by John W. Henry. Man United are owned by the American Glazer family, right? AC Milan are owned by Elliott Management. Arsenal are owned by Kroenke Sports Enterprises, which is held by Stan Kroenke and his son Josh. Then you come to the others. Chelsea owned by an individual, Roman Abramovich. Man City are owned by the Abu Dhabi United Group. The Tottenham are owned by the ENIC Group. Atletico Madrid is owned by one individual called Gail Marin. And this is the difference. Juventus by the Agnelli family, and then Real Madrid are owned by the club members, Barcelona by the club members. Okay? But Real Madrid and Barcelona are in serious debt. Okay, they are in serious debt. So this gives you an idea. If we could go to the next slide. Now, the Americans in there watched what happens in America with the NBA, Major League Baseball, and the NFL, and decided and told the others that this is the way we do it in America. We don't need relegation and promotion, because when you have teams as big on digital, on traditional media like these ones, and these are the numbers they used to justify. Now get this. All the 12 clubs that we have seen in the previous slide, these are their social media following in purple across Facebook.
And that's in billions, isn't it?
Yes, in billions. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. And this is what network is? I've forgotten which one it is. Weibo, the Chinese. Yes. 1.336.3 billion followers across all the networks. Now get this one. This will blow your mind. If you add all the 86 remaining teams in the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, Serie A, and Ligue 1.
From France?
Yes, that's France. So England, Spain, Germany, Italy, and France. 86. All their social media followers across all these networks. You have 998 million against only 12. Now, again, if you're a businessman and I bring you this proposal, why wouldn't you take it?
Speaking of money, let me quickly make some money for Joy Prime TV right now. The all-new Bet 2 provides all sports fans a chance to make some money by betting on their favorite sports. We provide the best odds on live and pre-live games and offer the most bonus